I've never been very comfortable talking into videos and cameras. And I decided a long time ago to quit talking about politics and stuff like that on Facebook, hot button issues. But what I'm going to talk about right now is really not a political issue. It's not a religious issue. It's a moral issue. I just left the movie Unplanned. It's the story of a woman who was clinic director in Bryan, Texas, of a Planned Parenthood. She was there for 8 years, and it's the story of her coming out of that. And it was a really powerful movie, a little bit graphic, but nowhere near as graphic as it could have been. I think for me it was most powerful because it showed me a woman who had a loving husband, a loving family, but somehow she created this career where she lied to people. And it was just really apparent throughout the movie. And she lied about what the women would go through if they got the abortion. And she lied about it despite the fact that she went through it herself. She got a surgical abortion in that same clinic and had the abortion pill, and talked about how hard that was. And it helped me understand a little. Maybe not understand is not the right word. I think and it's still a mystery, but I know a lot of really loving people, loving mothers, who support Planned Parenthood. And they probably wouldn't say that they support abortion. They support the right to choose. And that's what Abbey said. And she was the clinic director, but she was never in the procedure room. And things kept building and building, and then one day she was called in to help with the procedure, which never happened. She was just holding the ultrasound for the surgeon, because he uses guided. He used ultrasound to guide him so he would, because the baby moves so much, is what he said later. And it had the picture of the baby moving, fighting for life, and then the vacuum tube coming in. And I'm going to get gross here, but, just it sucked parts of the body away, and then it was just the head, and then nothing, just empty. And it was gone. It was a baby with a head and arms and fingers and so much. And I know that people would make the argument that, oh, that's just graphic movie stuff. But, I mean, we all know. We've seen ultrasounds. We know that a baby's fully formed. It's not just tissue. It's fully formed at a very early age. And I don't mean fully. We know the lungs don't develop until much later. And, but it's not tissue. It's a baby. And I don't understand. I don't understand how anyone can support it knowing. So I know that most of the people I know who support it, and maybe I should say I suspect, I don't, are not thinking of that or have believed lies they were told. And again, it's been politicized, and people have said, oh, it's religious. It's not. It's humanity. It's dignity. It's your child. the father and the mom, I mean, they gave their DNA to create this brand new human being that started at conception. And I'm not sure anybody will believe that just because I said it. I mean, I'm not trying to make this a persuasive speech. I'm just trying to kind of get my feelings out because it's a travesty, and it's not because I was raised to believe a certain way, or because I've been indoctrinated by my upbringing. You know, I've had a child. I've watched. I was high risk. I had ultrasounds constantly. I watched him grow. And I've seen the pictures of, you know, it was that Body Worlds exhibit. They had the St. Louis Science Center years and years ago. And part of that room was babies because they were using, if you don't know what Body World is, they'd taken people who volunteered their bodies for the project, and they basically did something with some kind of, I don't even know what the material was, to preserve the body. And you could observe, you could see, depending on how they did it, you could see you could see parts of the body, and there were actual parts. And, you know, I'm not going to, you know, talk about the ethicalness of that. They did volunteer, but there was a room that was, it was lab, doctors used to keep lab samples of the, you know, for research purposes. You know, they didn't have the technology, so they would keep, you know, samples to study and things. And so it was from a doctor's collection, formaldehyde and collection, and they'd taken them, and it was babies at different stages of development. And it was just so clear. It was so clear. It was just at a very young age. It's interesting. I saw a very young man, teenager, and he walked by, and he just like wiped away a tear. And I wondered if, you know, one of his kids had been aborted, or I wondered if, you know, I wondered what made that tear happen. I couldn't, you know, it's all speculation, but, you know, it's, this movie, you know, the way truth and, you know, dialogue and stuff has digressed in these last few years particularly, but it's been going on a long time, you know, that assertions have become facts, you know, in people's minds. If these people just make a bunch of assertions and they're not really telling facts. And, you know, my whole life I've always sought what was true, and my understanding of that has changed over time, because it's just always a journey to what's true. And I don't even know if I have the words for it, because it's not your body. I know I'm doing you know, it's not even platitudes, it's truth. But it's the kind of thing that people don't hear, you know. It's like, this is our argument and this is their argument, and I just I don't even know because it seems so clear to me. And I know that whenever I've spoken on Facebook about abortion, not even about abortion, I remember when those tapes came out, the videotapes of inside Planned Parenthood with the dismembered babies' bodies, when they're showing them, putting the pieces back together and counting the limbs, making sure all the parts were there, listening to conversations, and, you know, it didn't matter. It didn't matter because people still believed because so much goes on the internet that are partial truth and stuff, and I think that, oh, when those came out, I wrote an article. I mean, my blog's kind of messed up now, but I wrote a blog post about, because I just kind of woke up one Saturday morning. I've been watching the videos and stuff, and I woke up and I just started grieving. I was grieving for, what did I say? It was the ones suffering in silence, the ones who were lied to and had an abortion. We're told it'd be easy. We're told it was just cells. We're told there'd be no problem, and they're grieving and depressed. And I've heard so many stories from people who've had really serious psychological issues from that. And of course, there's maybe, there's still the people who say, no, it was no problem. It's no big deal. I've had 6 or 7 of them. I've heard people say that, literally. And, and it's, the Shout Your Abortion movement and all that kind of stuff. But I remember I was writing I wrote that, and I was just really grieving. I was just writing my feelings. I was grieving about, I was grieving because I thought about all those people watching those videos and listening to debates, and they maybe never told anyone they had an abortion. And it was all being brought up just to the surface, and maybe they still didn't feel like they had any to talk to. I don't know. And I was, I just had said I just spent time praying for them, because it had, and feeling bad that it took me so long in the process to actually think about it. I mean, to actually think about that these people are out there. And I put a link on us that if you're struggling with this, and I put links to Project Rachel and Project Joseph, who are organizations that help people Project Rachel's for the women who've gone through abortion, and Project Joseph, who's men who've lost their child to abortion. And there's help out there. There's lots of people who really help, and I'm not putting judgment on anybody. I know, I know a lot. I mean, I'm certain there are people who I know who I don't know had one, but I know people who have, and they've talked about their grief. And so I don't judge anybody who supports the group necessarily. I'm not going to sit there and condemn you. You're an evil person, because I know too many great moms, self-sacrificial moms, who support them for whatever reason. And it's on me that I haven't started a conversation to try to understand where they're coming from. And I'd like to do that. So I just, I'd encourage you to see this movie, even if it's just to critique it, and I'd be happy to hear any critique you have of it. If you think it's just, propaganda for the pro-life movement or anti-choice or whatever you call. But this is one woman's story, and she was successful. Right before the end, she was awarded Employee of the Year, because her office was consistently doing making more and had the most revenue. So I mean, that's kind of me just kind of spewing, and I don't know if if you got all the way this far, then thanks for listening. I don't even know. Oh yeah, I was going to say, when I made that blog post, I got some vitriol from people. They were friends of friends or family members of friends. Like who are you to, who do you even say these things and stuff like that? And another friend who was just throwing out statistics, and every one of them she threw, I went and looked at reputable sources and brought her statistics for everyone she brought. And then it didn't matter. I gave a link to sources that, were not conservative news agencies or Christian organizations. They were government things. They were numbers from Planned Parenthood. They were whatever her thing was. And anyway, so you can do with this what you will. And if I get more vitriol, then so be it. I'm not an activist. I'm just a person who loves God, and everything in my life is for Him. And that's my goal in life, is to grow closer to Him and to love the people around me. And I'm never going to be an activist. I'm not. And not that taking a stand and activism are the same thing. So I don't know. I'm rambling, but that's what I do, right? So anyway, I'd encourage you. The movie it opens this weekend, and it's in theaters all over the country. This was a preview show tonight. It was a preliminary thing. I'm not sure, kind of a marketing thing, because if there's a lot of people that come now, they'll come more. So I think Abby's story is worth hearing, whatever side you're on. I think the truth of the people who were just vindictive at the gate, the truth of people murdering abortion doctors, those are evils. Those are evils. But there's the truth of the other people who are just praying and loving. And and there's a lot of deception on so many so many things. But I knew a guy. He said it was right to take military action against abortionists and abortion clinics, and the bombings and all those things are just evil. And I'm so glad that now the effort now is prayer. And I've been there. I've been in front of Planned Parenthood and prayed. I had my rosary, and I had a sign. They had a few signs. I picked one that I thought was appropriate, and I just stood there, and I prayed, and I didn't get close to the gate. I didn't do anything. I just, and that was for 40 Days to Life, which is organization that Abbey dealt with and that she went to when she was ready to get out. And Abby's organization has gotten over 500 other workers out of the industry who wanted out, and helped them do what they wanted to do. They wanted out. So anyway, we've been battling, and I've seen them in St. Louis. I've seen on the news people standing in front of Planned Parenthood in support of abortion. And again, it's a mystery to me. I can't comprehend the motivation behind it, particularly the depth of the passion. But my heart breaks. My heart breaks because in Abby's 8 years, her words on the movie were, she was complicit in 22,000 abortions, 22,000 babies dying under her watch. That is 2,000 more than the county that I grew up in. My county I grew up in is 20,000 people. That's like my county plus my hometown, another town the size of my hometown, that died under her watch, under her leadership in 8 years. Just her. Her clinic, but she was in charge. It's inconceivable. It's like if, somebody came and dropped a bomb on my whole county and every single person was gone. it's yeah. I mean, the depths of the numbers are, are crazy. So, I'm not gonna ever, I mean, some of the things that some of the people were yelling at the fence to the girls going in were just dreadful. So I'm not saying this side's evil, this side's good, because I know good people who support it, and I know, people who just, well, I don't know. I don't personally know anybody that's, well, I guess the guy I knew that believed in bringing up the arms, but that was, I haven't seen him in 20 years. So I know they exist. I'm not denying. Like, you can't deny it. There's too much evidence. And anyway, I'm kind of rambling. So I think 21 minutes is probably long enough. So, all right. Thanks for listening. Bye.